Scarf, Chair of Mid-Suffolk District Council, and I will be chairing this meeting today. This meeting will be broadcast live on our YouTube channel and will be capable of repeated viewing. The whole of the meeting will be recorded except where there are confidential or exempt items. If any member of the public attending the meeting objects to being filmed, please advise us immediately and we will ensure that they are not included in the filming. Members of the public and the press may record, film, photograph or broadcast this meeting when the public and press are not lawfully excluded. If you are intending to do so, please could you inform the committee clerk. May I also please request that mobile phones are on silent or switched off and that your laptops are switched to silent. If you hear the fire alarm, please leave the building immediately via a fire exit and make your way to the assembly point at Ipswich Town Football Ground. Just a couple of items to note. Following discussions at licensing and regulatory meetings and legal advice, the report BC 2543 on street trading controls has been deferred to allow a 28-day consultation period to be undertaken. This was Agenda 9, so Agenda Item 9 is removed from and will be dealt with at a later council meeting. You should have also received an email earlier from Peter. Additionally, members will have received that notice. I have, in my capacity as chair, suspended Rule 17.3, which requires members to stand when speaking. This is to support discussions at the Constitution Working Group around whether this change is preferable as a permanent step to improve accessibility to our meetings. While the rule has only been suspended and a new rule has not been agreed to compel members to sit when speaking, I would ask that members remain seated when speaking throughout the course of the meeting. This is so that we can determine the use of the microphones, the effectiveness of the microphones, and also the quality of the YouTube broadcast. It came up in the Constitution Working Group, and I agreed as chair for a trial for this meeting to start off with. So hopefully that's clear. If you do stand up, I may ask you to sit down, just for the record. Okay, so we move to item 1, which is apologies for absence.
Many thanks, Chair. Members, we've received apologies from Councillor Tim Weller.
Item 2 is declaration of interest by councillors. Are there any declarations of interest? I see Councillor Penny, Councillor Davis, Councillor Hardingham and Councillor Whitehead in that order, please. Thank you.
Item 10 as well, for Helmingham.
Okay.
Yes, I'm ward councillor and also on the parish council at the moment for Helmingham.
Okay, thank you. That's all right.
Item 10, I'm a parish councillor on Codnam Parish Council.
Okay. Councillor Higgs?
County councillor for both of those.
Okay. Are there any other declarations of interest? Obviously, if you become aware of any, you can indicate during the meeting if you're suddenly aware that there is. Thank you very much for that. Item 3 is to confirm the minutes of the meeting held on the 26th of February 2026. This is paper MC 25/41 and begins on page 7. Are there any issues with accuracy? Yes. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. Just a minor point on paragraph 108.19. There appears to be a rogue letter, the. I think it should read Councillor Pearson, not Councillor the Pearson. Otherwise, no other comments.
Thank you. Councillor Whitehead, did you? Councillor Whitehead.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I just felt that on item 108.9, which reads as Councillor Whitehead introduced the amendment, I just feel that takes brevity beyond reasonable limits, where I spoke for 5 minutes and 672 words. Perhaps that could be expanded a little.
Okay, yeah, I can give you some assurance that will be expanded and we will talk to you with Democratic Services to amend that minute accordingly. Okay, are there any other issues of accuracy with the minutes? No? Okay, so can I request a proposer, please? Councillor Linda's proposed and a seconder. Councillor Caston, I saw you first. Thank you. I'm going to call for a vote by a show of hands This is obviously the only vote where a show of hands we will do tonight. So all those in favour? Any against? Okay, so that is carried. Right, I now refer you, item 4, to Chair's announcements, which is on page 23, paper MC 2542. I'm grateful to the Vice Chair for attending West Suffolk Civic Dinner. I hope you had a nice time. And as you can see, the events that I've attended. Just a little gentle reminder to you all, my fundraising litter pick event, Chair's fundraising litter pick event, is on Easter Sunday. Take up by councillors has been rather slow so far. Now, if you don't want to take part, that's fine, but you could donate, and I know a couple of the councillors have done it also already, but there's still time, so please feel free to donate if you're not able to take part. It's raising money for a really good cause, and it's a green thing to do in terms of the environment, and it's something we do on a regular basis. I've been doing it for about 20 years, so I'm looking forward to the event. I hope to see some of you there. You can come along and just say hello. That would be great. All right. To donate, at the bottom of any email from me, there's a link, and you just go on that, and it's very easy to do. All right. Thanks very much. And we now move then to item 5, which is leaders' announcements. Can I invite Councillor Mellon to present your update? This has been circulated in the table papers prior to the meeting, and of course will be attached to the minutes. And just a warning, I only am going to accept points of clarification. I don't want to go into a debate on any particular item in the leaders' announcement, so if you're going to ask a question, it must be on clarification. Okay? Councillor Mellon.
Thank you, Chair. I'd apologise for tabling the papers only this morning. A14 litter clearance. As I reported at the last council meeting, there's continuing concern about litter on the roadside of the A14, and we share people's frustration over this. So I wanted to update councillors on what we are doing to address this problem. We've been working with a highways contractor, Triplex, and last week they cleared 2 truckloads of rubbish from around junctions 49 and 50 of the A14. That's Tot Hill and the Stowmarket junction. This work took advantage of a planned road closure to avoid additional costs and keep disruption to a minimum. Now, we're continuing to work closely with partners including National Highways and Suffolk County Council Highways to coordinate further safe litter picking along the A14. We are grateful to volunteers who have been picking litter, but we continue to urge people to only do this where it is safe and not on fast roads. It's dangerous work, and every clean-up we do requires careful planning and lane closures to protect those carrying out the work. Takers Lane in Stowmarket. We've now completed the purchase of almost 8 acres of land in the heart of Stowmarket to preserve it as a riverside haven for nature. The land, which is between Takers Lane and the River Rat, is next to the council's existing open space at Pikes Meadow, and this unlocks potential for a new riverside walk connecting Coombsford and Gipping Way. The council's investment is a further step in our work to protect and strengthen the district's wildlife and habitat diversity, and also providing public green space as well as safeguarding the land from future development. The next steps in managing the land and opening up access will depend on the results of ecological surveys over coming weeks, as well as further consultation with partners including Stowmarket Town Council. I'm also pleased to announce a new £525,000 fund to support ambitious nature recovery and water management projects across mid-Suffolk. We had a very well attended launch event in Stowmarket a couple of weeks ago, and the fund opens for applications next week. The Catchment and Landscape Nature Recovery Grant promotes larger scale collaborative initiatives which could span multiple sites and landowners. With the focus on river catchments, it will support projects that benefit communities as they address biodiversity loss, with a particular emphasis on priority habitats and species. It will also support natural flood management as well as projects to improve water quality and security. More details about this grant and other funding opportunities can be found on our website. And And alongside these practical initiatives, I'm very happy to support the United for Nature document brought forward by Suffolk Wildlife Trust and other environmental organisations. This sets out the actions all councils can take to protect and restore nature, and I believe that this council's actions match the ambition in that document. On sewage sludge, following the motion that we debated and agreed on this issue at a previous meeting, I was pleased to see that the government opened a consultation on the spreading of sewage sludge on farmland, and I'm grateful to Councillor Pratt for his work highlighting this important issue. Turning to global issues, the impact of war in the Middle East, I would normally try and steer clear of global issues beyond the purview of a council leader, but the current conflict has immediate local impact in terms of the price of heating oil and diesel as well. And now, as a rural district, we have a large number of homes using heating oil, which, as we know, is not covered by any price cap. The government has set aside £53 million to support households falling into fuel poverty. That funding will go to the County Council's Crisis and Resilience Fund, but we expect to work alongside the County Council to help target this help at the most vulnerable households. And finally, reorganisation. Yesterday it was announced that ministers have chosen the option of 3 unitary councils for Suffolk, and we now move forward into a period of planning for these new authorities. Whilst many members of this council supported this proposal, others did not, and I fully understand that they are disappointed by the outcome. But I hope that with the decision now made, we can look forward and work together so that the new authorities have the best chance of success. This is a period of change, transition and some uncertainty, not only for politicians like us, but more importantly for the several thousand council staff employed across the county in various authorities. We owe it to them and to our residents to make this process as smooth as possible. And those are my announcements, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mellon. Councillor Hicks.
Can I just pick up on that waste point? I think you and I and others all received that TikTok video. Did you see it? It was a gentleman who rang all the councils in Suffolk to try and get permission to do exactly what you've just said. And everyone kept saying it's someone else, including the Highways Agency. So I think that there's a takeaway that we could all maybe get together and just think about how we message who can do what, particularly on that corridor, because people want to help, but they don't know where to go.
Thank you, Councillor Hicks, for that. I think there was a question in there somewhere. I don't really watch TikTok, to be honest, but it's probably a certain gentleman from my division who has been in touch with me. So, yeah, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you very much, Chair. I just had a follow-up question on LGR, because I saw the announcement yesterday of the transition funding that the government were providing, but I thought that £900,000 per unitary authority was an alarmingly low figure for the scale of transformation that needs to happen. So I just wanted to ask if there was an expectation from government that they would be providing more funding further down the line to support that.
Councillor Mellon.
So my understanding of the overarching sort of theory of this is that the costs of reorganisation will come from within existing budgets and the savings made over the longer term. I don't believe that there is any particular provision apart from what they've already announced, unless the Chief Exec has got a different view.
Thank you, Chairman and Leader. No, not a different view. I would say it's £900,000 more than we were ever expecting to get, because the original intention was that it would be entirely funded through the new authorities, and that the savings that are made are what would recompense those councils in the future. So it's a welcome extra £2.7 million for Suffolk, but you are absolutely correct that it is nowhere near enough in terms of if it was designed to cover the full costs, but it isn't designed to do that.
Councillor Richardson.
Yes, thank you. Can I ask just a quick follow-up, which I'm assuming the answer is yes, but it'd be good to get clarification on this, that presumably, because obviously those savings won't be delivered until after unitary, we're effectively having to build in that cost pressure up front in order to fund the resourcing that we need to do it. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Councillor Matheson.
Thank you, Chair. Can the leader clarify regarding the heating oil? Has the district been asked to be involved in distributing the financial aid to meet what's now an urgent need?
Councillor Mellon.
Thank you, Councillor Maston, for that question. As I said in my announcements, the funding has come to the County Council, who hold the local welfare assistance scheme. That is transitioning to the new Crisis and Resilience Fund next week. And I think it's probably a little bit early to understand the mechanism by which the council will disperse that money to needy households. In the meantime, I've asked officers to put together a fact sheet of where people who are in need of help could get help, and that includes places like Community Action Suffolk, where they give interest-free loans if people need to get money to fill up their tank. So we will get some information about how residents can access help in the next few days.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for clarification? Councillor Rowe.
Yeah, and also on the impacts of the war in the Middle East, my question for clarification is, as well as cost of oil, there is the social cohesion element. So can you clarify what help we could give to ensuring communities who may face prejudice related to this could be supported?
I'm being very patient tonight because I'm trying to get them as a question. So, yeah, Councillor Mellon.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the current tension in the Middle East can result in sort of community tensions and lack of cohesion. What can we do about it as district councillors? I think, we can use the tools at our disposal to support efforts to promote community cohesion. That could be, grants from our locality budgets. And I'm sure we'll all want to do the most that we can to make sure that people are not turning to extremes.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant. So we now move to item number 6, which is petitions.
None received, Chair.
Thank you. Item 7 is questions by the public.
We have received one question from a member of the public who is here to ask it.
Okay, sound good. Can I refer members to the question that appears in your tabled papers, and can I invite, welcome Mr Grimsey, can I invite Mr Robert Grimsey to ask his question, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Please can the leader of the council provide this meeting with a comprehensive explanation as to why, despite being very well aware of the extremely serious criminal situation that exists, he has not been able to provide me with a detailed response in over 15 months, and why the monitoring officer, who is expected to uphold standards, has not responded in a timely manner either.
Mr Mellon?
Thank you for your question, Mr Grimsey. I recognise that this matter has been ongoing for many years and relates to planning decisions taken under previous administrations at the council. I don't think this meeting is the place to go into specific details of your allegation, but I am aware that you have had meaningful responses from the council to previous complaints, that our chief executive has met with you on site and responded to emails from you, and that you took your case to the local government ombudsman in 2021. I have reviewed our previous correspondence back and forth, and you are correct in that I had not responded to your most recent email, and for that I apologise. Part of the reason for not responding was the fact that there was little to say that hadn't already been said to you. I recognise this isn't a reason not to respond though, and again I apologise for not doing so. On your question regarding the council's monitoring officer, I have discussed this with him. I'd also like to apologise on his behalf that you have not yet received a detailed response to your email, and he will be writing to you in the next few days. I am saddened that this matter continues to remain unresolved from your perspective, but I'm afraid the council has explained its position, and that position has not changed.
Thank you. Mr Grimsey, do you have a supplementary question?
Thank you, Chairman. I do have a brief question, and this relates as follows. Does this council endorse fraudulent practice, or will it, with immediate effect, take steps to correct the wrongdoing that it has hitherto enabled and endorsed?
Thank you. Councillor Mellon, are you able to respond?
Mr Grimsey, thank you for your further question. I've apologised that we haven't had a response to your most recent correspondence, and I've promised that we will now do so. However, you have had detailed replies to all your previous correspondence, reviews have been carried out, and as I said, the Chief Exec has had a face-to-face meeting with you. Whilst I respect that your ongoing right to challenge the Council's decision, we have previously made clear that the Council's decision, what the Council's decision was and why, and we have nothing further to add to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr Grimsey, for coming to ask your question. You can, of course, stay for the rest of the meeting. If you choose to do so, of course, you're free to leave as well. Okay, thank you very much. Item 8, then, is questions by councillors.
None received, Chair.
Okay. So, as I said earlier, item 9, the street trading controls agenda item, will be deferred to a further meeting. So we will immediately jump to item 10, which is the Community Governance Review, paper MC 2544. Can I invite David Connors, Head of Service, Land Charges and Electoral Services, to introduce the report, please? And just for the record, members who've declared an interest are now leaving the room so that they take no part. And of course they will come back. Well, he's joined, isn't he?
It's perfectly entitled to do so, but the others are parish councillors, that's why they've...
Okay. Welcome back. Yeah, no, that's fine. Okay, so I invite David Connors to introduce the report.
Thank you, Chair. So in October 2025, this council agreed the terms of reference for a district-wide community governance review to be carried out. Parishes have been contacted in May of that year to make them aware that the community governance review was taking place, and the submission window opened in October and November of 2025 for parish councils to make requests for changes to their governance arrangements. 5 parish councils submitted requests. They're detailed within the report. 3 of them are requests to reduce the number of members serving those parish councils, and 2 requests were made between 2 parish councils to merge to become 1 parish council. So in order for this process to happen, both parish councils have to submit a request for that process to happen. The Community Governance Review Working Group met in November, and they accepted all of these as valid requests, and these then went out to a consultation period based on the initial requests that were made. Within the report, you can see the responses that were received to those, which the Community Governance Working Group then reviewed in February of this year and drafted their draft recommendations. So within this report now, and you'll see in Appendix A, the draft recommendations, we ask that the Council agree the draft recommendations for the community governance reviews that have been received in Appendix A and the consultation strategies. Further to that, outside of the window, a further request was received from another parish council for community governance review. This was reviewed again in February by the working group. They again accepted this as a valid request, and therefore we request that the council approves an alteration to the terms of reference for this last review to take place, and for the consultation periods to open for those.
Thank you, Mr Connors. Can I request a proposer, please? Councillor Warboys, and a seconder? Councillor Linders. Okay, so we now invite questions. You're reminded you can ask as many questions as you like, and David will hopefully be able to answer your questions if you have any. Who would like to ask a question? Councillor Mansell.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to ask if Mid Suffolk, as a district council, is able to do anything to encourage more members of the public to become or stand as a parish councillor? I can't put my opinion yet because we're only on questions.
I think the answer to that is we legally could do things to promote standing as parish council. If that's something that council wanted to do, it's for parish councils to encourage membership to their organisations, I think. So they are better placed within their communities to do that, I think.
Okay. Further questions? Councillor Carter.
Do we know if the parish councils have done any surveys of why individuals are not putting themselves forward to it? If we knew reasons of barriers to standing for a councillor, then surely they can do something to try to encourage them. Has any work been done towards that?
Not that I'm aware of, Councillor. That's something we can engage with SALC about. SALC are likely to be the body that are aware of this and sort of lead with that piece of work. So can happily take that away and engage with SALC around that piece of work.
Okay. Councillor Overth.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, a part of those questions as well. I'm aware that some unitaries across the country, Somerset, North Yorkshire, Buckinghamshire, have also been looking at a system of allowances for councillors at town and parish levels, both in recognition of the significantly increased time and skills, but also as a vital measure to encourage and empower wider and fairer representation. Is that something we could consider?
I would have to take that one away, Councillor. That's not something that I think that I can answer today. Thank you.
Right, I see no hands, so we can move to open the debate. Would anyone like to debate? Councillor Mansell.
Thank you, Chair. Nearly all of these recommendations are to reduce the number of parish councils in our communities, which are, on the whole, probably growing. And that concerns me because I think with the local government reorganisation and the introduction of unitary councils, I think there is likely to be far more onus and possibly more bureaucracy put onto our parish councils. And if they're already struggling to find numbers of people willing to stand as parish councillors, I think this situation is likely to be ongoing, which is why I asked my question. That, you know, I think this is, 5 parishes want to reduce the number of parish councillors, so they're getting less representation across their communities, and the communities are growing. So it does concern me that it is getting increasingly difficult to find parish councillors. In my ward, I'm lucky enough actually to only have 2 parish councillors, and they're both extremely different. One nearly always does have an election, which I think is great for democracy. The other seem to go out of their way to try and prevent having an election, and they're getting a very narrow group of people. And I think the smaller the parish council is, the narrower that group of people might be. So I'd like the council to be able to explore ways of helping. I know we've had the answer that it should come from the parish themselves, but often they're not the best places where you might encourage people from a different sector of the village to come along. I think it would be really good if we can do more to help our parish councils to encourage more people to stand. I'm not going to vote against it because it's what the parishes want, but I just think that this could become an ongoing situation, and we might have another 5 villages next time who want to reduce, and I don't think it's good for democracy. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Patchett and then Councillor Bradbury.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, fully supportive of this gender item and fully agree with all of Councillor Mansell's points. And I think, we do have the returning officer that sits within Mid Suffolk for all elections. sort of done in Mid-Suffolk for our parishes. And obviously we have a whole department sort of headed by yourself that is the electoral department. So I think the onus and the burden actually does sit with us to actually push out a bit of communication to the wider public. I think it does sit with us because I guess with the parishes they've got skin in the game, haven't they? If they're quite happy with the people they've got on the parishes, and they possibly won't actually push out, hey, come and get rid of us and join the council. So that that it's not really in their interest to do it, is it? So I think it does sit with us, and we should push something out, and that could simply be a couple of our Facebook posts saying, do you want to become a parish councillor? I don't think there's much work to be done there. But yeah, I think as we do have the returning officer and the whole electoral department, I agree with Councillor Mansell with this, the responsibility sits with us.
Councillor Bradbury.
Thank you. Yes, I support what the parish councils actually want at the moment, but I was wondering, and perhaps Harry might know about this one. In Thurston's a good example of this, where the size of the village has grown considerably, and I'll be honest, I don't know if the number of parish councillors has increased in proportion to the size of the village. But I was wondering, how easy would it be if a parish councillor said we don't need this number of councillors, where in the future, if the village does grow considerably, they can just say, well, actually, we could do with one or two more just to balance it back out again. So just to perhaps ease any concern about the reduction in democratic accountability. Just
we won't be able to answer the question because we're in debate. However, I have seen Councillor Richardson indicate that he wishes to speak. Councillor Richardson, if you wish to speak and include an answer to the question, you're more than welcome.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. And yes, Councillor Bradbury, to your question, yes, it has increased over time in Thurston Parish Council. I was just going to speak briefly because, again, I'm very supportive of this. I think Councillor Mansell did make a couple of good points, and I wanted to just provide some reassurance to those from my own perspective. The first is my understanding that as part of LGR, a parish council would only take on additional responsibilities if it chose to do so, that it wouldn't be obliged to take on additional roles and responsibilities. And just in terms of parish councils that are perhaps becoming less active, I've actually seen the reverse happen, not just in Thurston actually, but within another small parish, Stirlangtoft in my case, where at the very beginning when I was first elected, nearly 7 years ago now, was reducing in size, very nearly merged with a neighbouring one, but actually with a good community-driven initiative, not from us, but from the existing parish council. They've actually managed to do pretty well, and they're still functioning. They don't meet every month, but they've increased their vibrancy over the years. So I think actually, okay, yes, it's. I mean, I will fundamentally support this because it's what the parish councils have asked for. But I just add a note of optimism into the debate at that point as well. Thank you, Chair.
Councillor Caston and then Councillor Carter.
Thank you, Chair. My first knee-jerk reaction about this was, we need to get more people into those seats. We need to, we need more voices and more representation. And parish councils cycle with popularity. All of a sudden, you've not got enough places on a parish council. But reading into this, I thought a non-quorate parish council is a massive problem. It just takes one conflict of interest on an issue, and they can't make a decision, and they get stuck. So my view now is that we've got the figures there. Most of these are the top end of councillors per electorate at the moment. I think we're staying well within the bounds of that, and if it helps them function and operate properly like they should do, then that's the best thing for governance in those villages. So I'll be supporting this. Thank you.
Councillor Carter.
Thank you. I'm afraid I am concerned regarding this. With the upcoming changes, the role of parish councils is actually going to be more relevant. There's going to be a period of upheaval, and residents may need a more local connection with local individuals. And whilst I do see the having a non-quorum council, that is a major issue. But at the same time, if you reduce number and have people who are quite happy in their roles there, could become stagnant and less active, and therefore, again, the community lose their local council. So we need to know what's, in my opinion, we need to actually know what they need to do to support the councils to ensure that this vital local part of democracy remains active. And if they need the support, then we should provide it. And if they're not doing the jobs, we need to find out why. And I'm not sure reducing it when people, well, increased population may become more relevant, need more people go, it might be intending. And if we've reduced it, and then they want to grow it again, that's just a waste of bureaucracy, having to actually reverse a decision, reversal. So my first reaction would be support, find out, improve, rather than knee-jerk reaction, given what they want, reduce it, and then allow them to stagnate into non-existence. That's my concern.
Councillor Marriott, then Linders, and then Hicks. Councillor Marriott.
I think Councillor Casterton referred to this indirectly. I was just going to say I am on the working group, but looking at it, both Coddenham and Stradbroke originally had more councillors than they needed according to the levels of their population, and they would be within the right bracket if they reduced them.
Thank you. Councillor Linders.
First of all, I'd like to thank our good officers for their diligent work that they have done in creating this proposal in the first place. And my own experience is that parish councils quite frequently do have a struggle to fill their seats. They announce in their local magazines and they walk around the villages and they connect with people, but it is very often very hard to get volunteers to do work for the community. That is the sad situation. I agree with you, it would be good if we could have more people coming in, but it's very difficult. And I think the main problem here is to keep a quorum running so that decisions can actually be made. And encouragingly, in Bacton, they want to increase the number of parish councillors, so it's not all negative as well. So, in conclusion, I'm very happy to support this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Linders. Councillor Hicks.
Thanks. Obviously, I forgot to add, I represent Framsden, Helmingham and Coddenham. And I think it goes back to the point that was made earlier. It's about the size of the council. Helmingham, I'm just trying to think how many houses there are, 30. It's really small. And actually, for them, there's just not enough population that can attend the whole time and manage that. So Framsden is literally half a mile. So it's a really obvious fit, and it works really well. I think we've got to trust the parish councils that they know what's best for their communities. Helmingham, Framsden, they're well established. Framsden is a really good parish council. So is Coddenham. I don't know all the others, but this is we have to go with their experience, I think. So the ones I know on this list, it makes total sense for them, and I will certainly support it.
I've now got three further questioners. Councillor Lawrence first, then Councillor Rowe, and then Councillor Warboys.
Thank you, Chair. I think we've been a little bit harsh on ourselves listening to the previous comments, certainly the earlier ones, because it was only about 3 council meetings ago that we actually voted and supported a motion for a youth council. And surely these youth councils being generated should, hopefully, in the longer term, produce an interest to going into the politics, if you like, and becoming parish councillors as a first step. So I think we already have done something as a council, Smith Suffolk, to encourage that, albeit we may have to wait a little while for the result. Thank you.
Bit about following on what Councillor Marriott said, and a bit with Councillor Linders, we were asked by quite a lot of councils who were struggling to make quora, so there is within these proposals, there's still space for growth to happen. It just means that they're not kind of falling down the minimum number of people, so they can't actually hold meetings. So I think it's good that parish councils encourage more people, and I'd expect them to do that. It's just kind of with the numbers of people there, they weren't anywhere close to getting to a nice, comfortable number. If more people got involved in those parish councils, then there would be more voices involved. So I support the recommendations.
Thank you. Councillor Warboys?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I agree with a lot of the sentiments that expressed already concerning the encouragement of people, residents, to take part in parish councils. It is an important role within a community. Our job as a working group was actually really looking at was quite a tight remit. It was reacting to requests by the parish councils themselves. And we did discuss at length the relationship between the number of councillors and the size of the electorate, and make sure that that was an appropriate size of council for the electorate. We also took into account potential increases of that electorate, so that from that point of view, it was actually future-proof. Councillor Caston did hit the nail on the head in a way, mentioning that sort of protecting or ensuring there's a quorum rate was an important part of our discussions, because that is a factor in actually helping a parish council carry out its business in a timely manner. So I do ask Mr. Collins can actually approve me if I've got some of the, correct me if I've got the details wrong, but that is my understanding. We carried out a remit accordingly, so I'm going to ask the council to approve this recommendation.
Okay. Anyone but Councillor Stringer?
Yes, very quickly. I just want to say, I think there's an immense amount of pressure put on some parish councils, and I think that's probably one of the reasons quite a few people don't want to step forward. Just in the planning sphere, we're in receipt of heaven knows how many nationally significant infrastructure projects at the moment, with increased housing targets from government, pressure to produce neighbourhood development plans, etc. There is a lot of pressure put on what is a voluntary organisation. I totally get that. I think, and often it's not necessarily about the reward. The reward is that you get to shape your community and make your community better informed and a better place to live. But in some of this, there's no surprises. Of course, Bacton is growing its parish councillors. It had 600 plus homes a few years ago. It's got an extra 450 coming its way. Of course, it's going to need to grow its parish council because its population is almost exploding. And with that comes expectation and greater services needed. I think one thing we can do, and I believe we do this quite well here, and we possibly could strive to do that better, I think a lot of parish councils ask in return for all their voluntary effort to be taken seriously and valued. I think that's what they mostly would ask us for. And I think we've made strides here to make parishes feel valued, certainly within the planning system. We don't always agree, but we often try and make them appearing here easier, which we've done. They can appear online if they want to. That kind of stuff, I think, has been quite helpful. And while I've got the floor, I did watch the TikTok video. And what was remarkable, this gentleman was trying to get the answer as to what could happen to make this community better and get this litter off the road. I think we can take some comfort in this council. It was when he contacted this council that he got all the correct information.
Okay. Any further contributions? No, I see no hands. So I'm going to ask the Head of Democratic Services to conduct the electronic vote.
Many thanks, Chair. Members, that vote is now in progress. Thanks for your patience, members. That is 28 votes for and 1 abstention. The motion is carried.
Who were absented from the room, come back. Welcome back, councillors. Thank you for your forbearance. The answer was it was carried. So we now move to item 11, which is the Pay Policy Statement 2026 to 2027. This is paper MC 25/45 and is on page 59 of your published papers. Can I invite Councillor Andrew Mellon to introduce the report and to move the recommendations, please?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So the councils are required to produce a pay policy statement for each financial year under Section 38 of the Localism Act 2011. So the policy statement we have before us is attached to Appendix A, and of course Baber and Mid-Suffolk District Councils work together, so we have a single organisational structure with harmonised pay, grades, terms and conditions, and a single pay policy statement which covers both councils. So this report contains details of the Council's 26-27 pay policy statement for councillors to consider and approve. We also have to publish the gender pay gap, but the report based on this, the data here is from the year to 31st of March 2025, and as members will note, this is almost a year ago, but we have to report that now a year in arrears. So each of the councils' sovereign bodies have to publish a report, but the combined data is the key thing. So I'd like to propose that the recommendation is 3.1, that the proposed pay policy statement for 2026-27 as set out in Appendix A be approved, and 3.2, that publication of the council's gender pay gap as of 31st of March last year be noted. Thank you, Chair.
A seconder? Councillor Mansell. Councillor Mansell, do you wish to reserve your right to speak later?
I'll request to reserve my right to speak.
Thank you. So I now open it up for questions. Are there any questions? Councillor Watson.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask about the gender pay gap report, which we're asked to note, but it hasn't been published yet. And I just wonder if why that would be, and if it could be published earlier in future so that we can note it for this thing.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Through you, can I refer this to the head of HR to answer that question?
Of course.
Thank you. Yes, we're pulling the data for next year now, so we'll be ready to publish that very soon, and this one will be out next week. But yes, we're looking to pull it forward so that we can present it much sooner going forward.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Just a quick question around the publication of the pay scales. I've been unsuccessful to find the pay scales published since 23-24, and obviously each year there's been sort of an inflationary increment, and it'd be really helpful, I think, for people widely and officers and various people to be able to see that. So I really wanted to ask if we can regularly publish those pay scales, if they are published and I'm just not finding them very well, and if there's a reason why we don't. Thank you.
They are on the intranet, and the new ones have been published, haven't they? Just checking the date.
No, the new ones have been published.
They are available on the intranet, and the newly published, the revised version will be available very shortly. But yes, no problem.
Mr. Baker, you want to come back?
Thank you. So they're only available on the intranet for the staff. Is that the case? Are they published on the internet at all? No.
No.
I was just wondering, because other councils publish their pay scales on the internet to encourage when people are looking to join a council for employment purposes and things like that. So I wondered if that could be considered in any way.
Yes, take that away. Thank you.
Further questions? Councillor Davies.
Thank you, Chair. I think I have three questions, but it might be one question. In Appendix A, page 64, we state that grade 2 of our 7 pay grades is the lowest at £25,583, which I think works out at approximately £13.30 as an hourly wage. And I wondered a couple of things. Can we look into making our lowest paid worker experience a real living wage? And I think that currently is £13.45 an hour, 15p less than this grade 2. And also, it would be nice to see in the report what percentage of our employees are on this wage, and if it's like seen as a progressed wage, that you come into the council and people are not on it for very long. So for me, I think it's important for us to pay the real living wage, because that has been seen by the foundation as a fundamental standard of living that is a good quality of living. And if you're working for the council, that's what I want us to provide. So I don't know if that's a question or if that's something that we can do. That is my question.
It is 3 questions in one. So yes, in the future reports, happy to provide the percentage. Just got some data actually, did you say for 22?
Yeah,
22 in the budget sitting at that point. But as people start, then they would move quickly beyond the pay band. So you'd only expect someone to sit at that point for a year in any event. And in terms of increasing going forward, I'll have to take that one away. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No. Okay, well, I'll open it up for debate. Who would like to debate the item? Well, I see no hands, so Councillor Mounsell, I'll go to you as you seconded and reserved your right to speak.
Well, I'd just like to say that you know, I think some interesting points have been raised during the questions, and maybe they can be considered for next time round. But clearly this is something that we are obliged to agree on an annual basis. But it would be good if some of the questions that have been raised by councillors can be addressed in future.
Thank you. Councillor Mellon, do you have anything further to add? No? Okay. So I will now ask the Head of Democratic Services to conduct the electronic vote.
Many thanks, Chair. Members, that vote is now in progress. 4, no problem at all.
Penny?
Councillor Penny.
I've got a power issue with my laptop. But
Can I take a vote verbally?
I'd like to vote for.
No problem. Councillor Matheson, can I take your vote verbally? That is 33 votes for. That motion is carried.
Okay, so we now move to item 12, which is the 2024-25 recommendations from external audit. This is paper MC/25/46 and appears on page 67. I'd like to invite David Fevier-Ward, the Head of Finance, to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. This evening, I'm presenting the report on the 24-25 external audit statutory recommendations, along with the accompanying finance action plan set out in Appendix B. Ernst & Young have issued a statutory recommendation under Schedule 7, Part 2 of Section 24 of the Local Audit and Accountability Act 2014, following their value for money conclusion for 24-25. The Council is required to consider and respond to these recommendations within 30 days of the audit opinion being issued on the 27th of February 2026. The Statement of Accounts were published by the statutory deadline of the 30th of June 2025, which is a huge improvement compared to previous years. However, this report outlines the challenges faced during the audit process, including the introduction of the new Unit 4 financial system and the significant operational pressures on the finance team leading to delays in resolving audit queries. Ernst & Young's recommendations set out in paragraph 4.7 highlight the need for a strengthened workflow, a more robust quality assurance process, and a reassessment of resourcing and support across the organisation. In response, we have developed a comprehensive finance action plan included in Appendix B, which outlines targeted actions across workflow redesign, quality assurance, and team capacity. This plan has been shared and discussed with Joint Audit and Standards Committee members, who have also requested additional briefings and progress updates as part of ongoing scrutiny. Ernst & Young have also reviewed this report and the action plan and confirmed that it is both thorough and comprehensive. The actions already implemented as set out in paragraph 4.10 demonstrate real progress. Permanent recruitment into key roles, 2 new roles created within the team to support this work, a structured month-end and year-end process has been established, data analytics requirements for the 25-26 interim audit have been provided, and a detailed close-down timetable has been created. Members are asked this evening to consider Ernst & Young's statutory recommendations and confirm support for both the recommendations themselves and the actions being taken to address them. Melissa and I are happy to answer any questions you have, and I will now hand back to you, Chair, to seek a proposer and a seconder for the recommendations in the report. Thank you very much.
Mr. Proposer, please. Councillor Matheson.
I formally propose, and I will ask some questions after I've heard a seconder.
Okay. I understand that we may have some amendments.
Yes. Shall we...
Right, so I need a seconder first. Sorry, I was just taking advice there. Councillor Pearson, you're happy to second? Okay. Okay, so we now go to questions. Councillor Patchett.
Thank you, Chair. I wonder if I could propose an additional 2 recommendations for the members to consider. So that would become 3.3 as follows: that the Council requests the relevant director to bring forward a separate dedicated action plan addressing the perceived significant weaknesses in contract management identified in the value for money conclusion to the next available meeting of the Joint Audit and Standards Committee. Would you like the second one? Okay, so which would be 3.4. That as part of the capacity review outlined in Appendix B, that the Section 151 officer is tasked with developing a formal succession plan to ensure that the Council is no longer vulnerable to single key person dependency regarding critical finance staff. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Patchett. Councillor Matheson, are you prepared to accept those amendments?
Chair, I'd like to accept the first amendment, but I feel that the Second Amendment is actually misguided, and I'd like to ask officers about progress that's been made since the report was received, particularly in relation to staffing. So can we put that one on hold for a little while?
I think I'm going to go to questions first, and we can come back to these amendments after the questions, if that's okay. So I'm now going to invite questions. Councillor, right, okay, keep your hands up. Councillor Richardson, then Councillor Linders, keep your hands up. Councillor Mansell and Councillor Matheson. Okay, so I've got Councillor Richardson, Councillor Linders, Councillor Mansell and Councillor Matheson in that order at the moment. Please indicate anyone else who wishes to ask questions. Councillor Richardson.
Thank you very much, Chair. Actually, my question was very similar to the point that Councillor Patrick was making in his first recommendation, which is beyond this meeting and indeed if the amendment is approved, will there be regular reporting on the actions as they are implemented, either to Joint Audit and Standards or to Cabinet, please? Thank you.
Melissa, would you be able to answer that question?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. So yeah, we're happy to provide the action plan as long as it's needed. Obviously, we'll have another annual audit, and hopefully by the time we've implemented all of these actions, there will be no value for money concerns, but obviously while there remains a value for money concern, we're happy to keep the action plan updated and regularly report that back as good practice through to JASC.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Linders.
Thank you. On page 71, 6.1, about financial implications, it says that the 2 fixed-term posts will be funded across the general fund and housing revenue account. I wonder why the housing revenue account should be paying into this. That is my question.
So one of the roles is specifically to support the HRA side of things. So it's a HRA finance business partner role, but it will also be to support the statement of accounts, because there is quite a large element within our statement of accounts that relates to the HRA. So we want to make sure that bit has the kind of dedicated resource, as well as all of the general fund information that goes into the statement of accounts.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Noting the action plan on page 110 onwards, I noticed that there is about four lines down that you're going to publish a strict timetable with RAG status alongside this action plan, I presume. And I just wondered, is that published publicly? Is that published to councillors? Is that published just to Audit and Standard members? Thank you.
So we do have a detailed timetable. It's not something that we would want to publish to councillors. It is over 400 lines of data, so it is too granular, but it's something that the finance team are reviewing on a regular basis, so we can make sure that we're keeping ourselves on track.
Thank you. So are the Audit and Standards, members of the Audit and Standards Committee, will they have access to this document? And is that sort of looked at Audit and Standard meetings?
It's too detailed. It's not something that we've provided previously, and it's not something that we plan to. We will keep Audit and Standards up to date with our progress. And we are, as officers, going to be reviewing that on a weekly basis as well. We'll make sure that and then we'll update progress to Joint Audit and Standards Committee.
I've now got, in the following order, Councillor Matheson, Rowe and Patchett. Councillor Matheson.
Yeah, could I ask officers firstly to confirm that the time that the external auditors are referring to, the earlier stages particularly, we were extremely short of permanent staff, finance staff, and that we were depending on interim staff, and we were struggling and unable to recruit full-time staff, firstly, and secondly, can you confirm the degree of progress that we've made regarding finance staff since then?
Absolutely. So the two new posts that were created, the financial accountant role has been accepted, so we have a person appointed to that position who'll be joining us shortly. And we've made an offer on the second role. So again, we've completed all interviews for that. So we've had some really good applicants. So really good progress there, which I'm really pleased about. In terms of the 24-25, yes, we didn't have our senior financial accountant in post. We'd had a number of new members of the team join us over that kind of summer period when we were preparing the 24-25 accounts. So, yeah, it was quite a big challenge. And then we had one of the key people leave us who retired in August that had prepared those statement of accounts. So I hope that answers your question.
So you've got something.
Yeah. So can you confirm that when you've got that team in place, that there will not be a vulnerability to the loss of one person because there is an enlarged team now in place?
Yeah, we will be in a significantly better place for 25-26 and beyond with the team that we've got now and the processes that we're putting in place, with the use of Unit 4 and the automation that we're trying to put in place. So yes, I can confidently say that we will be in a much better place.
Perhaps if I could just finally comment, Chair, that the officer has been far too modest regarding his own arrival and the impact on improving the strength of the team.
Thank you. Councillor Rowe.
Yeah, looking at the action plan, I was wondering if for success measures, it could be added like a timely completed audit, because ultimately that's what we'd want, all these add to it. It might need to go in all three of the sections, but yeah, that seems like it should be in there somewhere.
Okay, we have a nod of agreement there. Councillor Patchett.
Thank you, Chair. I've got a couple if I can.
Cool.
So, yeah, with the action plan in Appendix B, so it outlines excellent steps sort of regarding recruitment, and I welcome the new permanent staff. However, the report notes that the loss of just one key officer previously derailed the audit. So how is the department ensuring cross-training and resilience now so that we do not have a sort of single point of failure if we experience staff turnover in the future?
Yep, happy to answer that. Yeah, there wasn't just that one key member of staff. There was other factors as well, with myself being focused on the budget setting process and being dragged away from the year-end process. And of course, we did manage to meet the kind of statutory deadline for the publication, which was a big achievement for us as a team. First time we'd achieved that within 4 years, but of course we definitely fell down on the audit, and we absolutely recognise that. But we now have, when our new recruit joins us, we'll have 3 financial accountants, a senior financial accountant, all in post. So the loss of one of those members of staff won't derail us. And then, yeah, we've really strengthened that part of the team, as well as bringing in an assistant accountant as well, having multiple members of the team training towards professional qualifications as well. So we're really just strengthening the whole team as a whole as well in terms of that technical expertise.
Councillor Patchett.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Can I just ask one on the IT systems, please? So the sort of report sort of frankly acknowledges that the implementation of the new Unit 4 sort of finance system at the start of 24-25 sort of created some significant hurdles for data extraction. So could you sort of reassure the Chamber that the core mapping issues that we experienced with Unit 4 have now been resolved, and that the team isn't having to sort of rely on sort of overly manual workarounds to sort of prepare the upcoming 25-26 accounts?
Yes, absolutely. So, as mentioned in the opening statement, our data analytics has been provided already to Ernst & Young, which is a significant step forward to where we were at this same point last year, and we weren't able to do that. We've made significant strides during the year with the progression of Unit 4 and embedding it within the team. We've got confidence that now we're in our second year end, that we'll be in a significantly better position than we were this time last year.
Councillor Patchett, one more, yeah?
I do, yeah, just one final one. No, thanks. So the action plan itself sort of sets out sort of an ambitious, proactive target to complete our statement by May 31st. So that's a month ahead of the statutory deadline. I definitely commend the ambition of that. So I guess, is the finance team confident that we've got the capacity now to achieve that accelerated timeline without putting any undue stress on what is a newly formed team, and it won't compromise any of the new quality assurance frameworks? Thanks.
Yep, so our senior financial accountant is doing a really good job in creating the mapping for us. So we're going to be able to incorporate a lot of automation into our work. So a lot of the key core statements in the statement of accounts, we will just be able to refresh and pull out of the system without any kind of manual intervention as such, or any kind of manual workarounds and mapping. So that's really going to save us a lot of time. It's also going to help in building some of the notes that support those statement of accounts as well. And he's already made really good strides in that. So we're just kind of tinkering around the edges with that now to make sure that that's working as expected for us. Yep, and Melissa's just kindly reminded me about our month-end process that we're doing as well. So we're getting our regular accruals, prepayments, and any reserve movements in on a monthly basis now as well. So that will create far less work for us at year end, because the team are used to doing it on a monthly basis, and they're used to me talking about it and kind of having that kind of task list there for them.
Councillor Baker.
Thank you, Chair. Could I place a request, if possible, that the Audit and Standards Committee would be given the opportunity to see a summarised timeline with kind of risks and dependencies. We have discussed, I think, that before. Obviously, we've got some meetings coming up. So I think it's really important. I appreciate there's a 400-line document with sort of timelines and things on. We don't need that kind of detail, but some kind of summary to that effect, so that we could work through it. That would be really helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, so David and I have already been in discussions around putting some detailed timelines and a bit more detail to each of these actions as well, because I appreciate they're very high level. So David's working with Tim on cross-referencing that back to the timetable so we can give a bit more meat on the bones, if you like, to some of this, and some hard and fast deadlines on some of this work as well. So we'll be bringing that back in May to JASC.
Councillor Marriott.
What I'm going to say relates to what Councillor Baker was just saying. I was going to say in the discussion a bit later, but there are a couple of sections in the report about the role of the Joint Audit and Standards Committee. Page 103, it's saying we should regularly monitor the programme of management's planned actions to enable robust oversight of contract management procedures, etc. And page 110, it's sort of saying about that we need to review progress against the action plan and review the statement of accounts. So a little bit worried about that, you know, about our ability to do that, and it really depends on the nature of the information that we are given. So I would just like to ask, you know, if we're going to perform that role, that we're given sufficient and quality information to carry it out.
Yeah, so we have been in discussions with the Joint Audit and Standards Committee, and we are putting in place statement of accounts training. We've had discussions about the best way to carve up the statement of accounts, if you like, to get the best sort of review around it. Also taking on board the contract management as well. I think we can provide an update on where we're at with that. There's been a lot of good work happening in that space as well. So, yeah, we're constantly working on how we can give that reassurance and make it I mean, the statement of accounts are not an easy document, I think, to review. So we're going to put some training in place and try and make that much easier for the committee to have some oversight on it. Absolutely.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? Okay, Councillor Patchett, I'm going to come back to you now. You moved you suggested two amendments. One, 3.3, which would be the new 3.3, was accepted by the proposer. Do you wish to pursue 3.4?
I would, Chair, and am I allowed to give some narrative on why I would like to?
Yes, of course.
Okay, yeah. So, obviously, I'll do it on both, if that's okay. So,
okay.
3.3, I put it in because 3.2 says that we have to be happy that this is appropriate and adequate, okay? So 3.3 just addresses the fact that the action plan doesn't cover the contractual management and the value for money. So I think for us to think that it's appropriate, we have to cover all of the significant sort of weaknesses that are in the Ernst & Young sort of audit. So that's why I put 3.3 in. 3.4 is about, the report itself does say that one of the reasons why we didn't achieve the result we wanted was because of this one key person that was missing. So I thought I would put in 3.4 so that we are addressing the fact that we had this vulnerability of one key person. And it sounds like from the Chair of Audit and from the finance members that we are pretty much on it with these key personnel. So there shouldn't really be a problem with 3.4. It sounds like we definitely can achieve it. So I think leave it in because it seems like we're 99% of the way there. So leaving it in just formalises that. It just formalises that we had this problem with one key person and that we're formally addressing it. So I think we're already ahead of the game on it. So if we just leave it in, it sounds like they're going to achieve it. So I would like to leave it in, if possible, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Matheson, I'm going to come back to you.
Yes, I think that the officers have explained that it is done. It is done, and so there isn't a need. We want recommendations of things to do, not, oh yeah, we've already done it. I mean, that's been stated already. It's done, so that's why I don't want to accept the second amendment.
Okay, so that now puts us in the situation where...
I'll retract it. I'll retract 3.4. It's fine.
Okay, all right, that's fine. Okay, so that now becomes a substantive motion. Okay, so we all know, and I will get Peter to read out the actual three recommendations before we actually go to vote. I'm going to open the debate now. Councillor Winch.
Yeah, so it's not an entirely comfortable report to read, I've got to say, but I think the thing that matters is, are we confident that we're really moving in the right direction now? And I am confident about this. So some of the things I've listed down, The issues with Unit 4 are behind us. The finance team has been significantly strengthened, and just seeing David with Melissa here, two really capable officers to present to us if one's not around. There's considerable progress being made in the contracts area, which is not in the report, but that has been going on, so that this third recommendation, I think, will have quite a good response. There's lots of actions that have already been implemented, like the improved month-end process. There's a remedial plan in place. There's a plan to take it to audit and standards in 4 months' time. So I am very confident that we're significantly moving in the right direction.
Okay. Councillor Pearson.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I'd just like to add to that in the 18 months that I've been the portfolio holder for finance, I have seen significant movement and progress in the development department. It was seriously understaffed when I first started in the role. It's now not. David came in, he's done a tremendous amount of work, and he and Melissa together have brought the department well towards being as it should be, and I'm very happy to support this motion.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to officers for presenting this. A few thoughts on this. So obviously, what's in here is quite worrying, particularly around the value for money elements. I know Mid-Suffolk is in a reasonably comfortable financial position compared to some other authorities, but that still doesn't mean, it still means that we should take every possible care when spending taxpayers' money. I also think it's particularly significant in the context of what will be a very difficult few years during local government reorganisation, and the fact that there's a significant amount of money being spent as part of the medium-term capital plan. However, I do recognise that there are some particular circumstances in that financial year that impacted that. But I also think it's worth reflecting on the fact this is why we do external audits. This is an opportunity to gain external independent assurance on some of our processes. If any audit turned around and said, yeah, everything's perfect, I'd be very, very suspicious indeed. So I do think it's a very, very comprehensive report. So thanks to EY for their input as well. So I will be supporting the recommendations in this paper. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to contribute? Councillor Matheson.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. Yes, I think reflecting back, the improvements have been enormous from where we were, which was not a good place. And just by way of letting you know, everybody, that regarding the problem of getting audits completed rather than disclaimed, as this one is again. At the moment, on this year that we're talking about, 24-25, there are 95 district councils and another 80 other councils and authorities that have got disclaimed audits at the moment, and it is very difficult to get past that point, because it involves actually resolving issues from 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I think that the overwhelming sense to me now, watching the 2.5 years that I've been on the committee again, I've been on it before. It does represent a very big improvement, and I just welcome so much the officers that are here and their team in what they've done, and that action plan. Yes, we need to see that it's progressing at the pace it needs to. The detail that we've been briefed on was much more than you've got in front of you, as I think Melissa's explained. And I'd like to get something that we can put out to all members in terms of that plan and progressing it so that we can get to the position where we can have an audit that is not disclaimed again. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to take that as your summing up then, Councillor. So I'm now going to ask the Head of Democratic Services to conduct the electronic vote. But before I do that, we will read out the extra recommendation on top of the other two, if you would, please.
Do you want all three read out?
I think I'll read all three out so it's clear to...
Yes, no problem at all, Chair. So the three recommendations are as follows. 3.1, that the Council agrees with the recommendations set out in paragraph 4.7. That the Council, 3.2 is that the Council is satisfied that the proposed actions set out in the Finance Action Plan in Appendix B and paragraph 4.10 are adequate and appropriate in response to these recommendations. And the additional 3.3, which has been accepted by the proposer, is that Council requests the relevant director to bring forward a separate, dedicated action plan addressing the perceived significant weaknesses in contract management identified in the VFM conclusion to the next available meeting of the Joint Audit and Standards Committee.
Now open.
Can I take your vote verbally, Councillor Carter? 4. That is 33 votes for. That is carried.
Thank you. That was a very thoughtful debate, actually, and some very thoughtful questions. So well done, everyone, on that. We now move to item 13, which is councillor appointments. Are there any changes to placings? Oh, okay, so that's fine. Motions on notice, item 14.
None received, Chair.
Okay, so good. Well, I'm going to close the meeting now and remind you that the next meeting is the annual council meeting on Thursday the 14th of May at 5:30. Thank you everyone for your attendance.